if you borrow more domestically, you realize that you are going to crowd out now the private sector. So you reach a situation whereby now your T-bills, of course, going up, and of course, as typically, ordinarily, banks are there, of course, also to look at their return on investment. Yeah. So they will actually focus more on going for the T-bills and, of course, the bonds and all that. So you crowd out the businesses, and of course, that cycles back again to what you're talking about, the cost, actually, the ease of doing business, how the environment is. Mm-hmm. So there should be a balance, really, between the domestic and the actually borrowing and actually the external borrowing. So with a debt service of 1.5 trillion, you realize that we have a huge burden. I mean, most of our money now is going into debt and all other sources. All right. So you have to really look at number one, how you're going to utilize the funds that you borrow, because that has been a challenge. The
use of the funds.
Yes.
Now, before we get to the use of the funds, you've mentioned the issue that banks will always look at their margins, so to speak. Towards March and May, we've seen banks have gone out under the Kenya Bankers Association to roll out a campaign for private sector, especially. It was targeting private sector to adopt, and also their banks themselves, to take advantage of the Kesonia. Now, that is a new banking model that, you know, so to speak, looks at risks, prices, risk, and such. With the way things are looking, is that going to work or not?
The risk-based
lending.
The risk-based lending, you know, categorizes each borrower.
Yes.
According to their credit rate, their ability to pay, and how they service their debt. For the private sector, we don't have a choice. That is where we borrow from the banks.
Yes.
But again, you look at the CBK rate, it has continually been dropping. Right now, it's at 8.7%. Yeah. And there is a standard where that banks can be able to add.
Yes.
So it is not bad. What he has mentioned in terms of the government also competing for the same funds that the private sector that is not good for us, because then it stifles the private sector. But then for the government, because right now we are way above the 55%, which is the threshold in terms of borrowing, is to look at how we can be able to grow the economy. For every shilling that we borrow, what is the return? If what we borrow, there is a return, then we are headed in the right direction. But if we borrow and there is no return for that amount of money of debt, then we are headed for the wrong direction. And then maybe again, we should also slow down the pace so that we are not seeing ourselves at 67.8% of GDP has gone to debt, and the economy size, so we are biting more than we can. I would say we are living beyond our means. 6% of interest rate, 6% of the GDP is going to interest rate. That is money that can go to health or education or schools.
Yes.
But the thing is, how do we balance in terms of that? And I think it's perhaps time we think about the revenue transformation reforms.
Revenue transformation reforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is something that maybe we could actually, as a country, we need to look into and see how we can be able to generate more revenue and also borrow externally. But also there is a balance between the risk, the cost, because if we borrow externally, the cheap debt is in foreign currency. Yes. Then we have the risk in terms of the fluctuating of the currency. So that balance, and Kenya does not lack experts in terms of doing those balances in terms of all those policies.
I concur with you. We do not lack the expertise, who can deal with. But the question is, are they in positions to do something about it? That's a rhetoric. You don't need to answer that. So, now, from where you sit, do you think, what I'm hearing is that the government needs more revenue to fund the growing budget and repay debt. But now citizens are already under economic strain. So if Wanjiko was to meet you out there, Dennis and Caroline, and asked you from an expert point of view, what is in this budget for me? How would you answer that question? Do you need a minute to think about that? Because we need to tell them if it's what they need to look out for. You ready to go? Let's, Dennis.
Thank you. What is in it?
For Wanjiko.
For Wanjiko, of course. Number one, of course, I'll tell Wanjiko that the government is really focused on ensuring that agriculture aspect is actually improved, and that is through they have allocated funds to go towards matters like the fertilizer subsidy. That's, I believe, the government is going to proceed with that. We have been seeing fertilizer prices having been dropped to 2,500 Kenya shillings. The normal ones going to around 6,000 Kenya shillings. So that's what, number one, I'll tell them, because most of them are depending on agriculture, especially in the local areas. Another thing, of course, I'll talk to them about the health, which is very critical for them. The matter of SHA, they want to see SHA working and all that. So you look at the health. Also, the government has really focused on of course, how it can be financed and how it can be actually be able to work. So another thing is about the infrastructure again, which is very important, because most of them are keen on roads. How are they going to even get to work? You know, how are they going to get their goods also to actually to be sold at the market? So those are some of the sectors which are very
are going to help Wananchi.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the corporate. I'm coming to you. I can see you still thinking about that. But now let's go to the corporate aspect and look at also the issue of withholding tax. According to the framework that we have seen, the proposed framework, it shows that the bill seemingly is designed to ensure that more transactions are captured under withholding tax mechanisms. What do you think is the reasoning behind this, CPA Caroline?
Withholding tax is actually a final tax. Most of payers of withholding tax actually service or professional fee providers, like I would say audit services, legal. Well, also there are other services in terms of training. All those actually would be able to sort to form part of the broadened, tax base.
Right.
And it's 5% versus the 16% that is imposed in terms of income tax.
All right. Still on you, because we need to help people understand. So basically, government there is not looking to increase taxes, but to increase compliance and under withholding tax. Now, rental income compliance. Now, the framework seems to be moving towards strengthening the provisions, relating to income taxation and taxpayer registration. What is, the recent frameworks? I know you've gone through the proposals. What do you think are the other objectives, other than the obvious that I've mentioned from my layman perusal of this particular document?
In terms of other areas?
Yes, in terms of, for them to actually go for rental income compliance with the frameworks that have been proposed there. I see they want to work on compliance and such, but then the ripple effect in as far as generating revenue. Do you think it will work? Will it meet the credentials?
Yeah, because that is in line with broadening the tax base, or broadening the number of people that are actually contributing to the tax bucket, and which means that increasing the revenue without increasing the income.
So are we
without increasing the taxes to the already people who are compliant.
So now, are you seeing a situation where this might actually result to an increase in rental, rents, value of rent?
The rental tax is about, 7.5 or
yes.
10%.
Yes.
Remember also there is construction of the affordable housing. So I'm not seeing a situation where if the government delivers the 250,000 units per year, which already has fallen short. I want to believe maybe in the next financial year they are going to increase the pace because maybe they're teething, problems. Then there is going to be so many houses.
Availability. So we are not expecting to see...
So when the laws of demand and supply will come in. So if I'm collecting rent and I have not been paying any tax on that, if I pay 7.5, if I try to increase the rental, somebody else may have an alternative. If they have affordable housing, flood the market.
All right. Demand and supply. So we shouldn't be worried. We should just have our fingers crossed that that demand and supply is actually balanced. Now, another sector also that we have seen reforms targeting is betting. Betting and gaming. And there are those proponents who have said, yes, this will go along to dissuade youth from participating in betting and gaming, but reports indicate that taxation does not affect addiction, so to speak. So